Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is a 2021 American superhero film based on Marvel Comics featuring the character the Shang-Chi. Produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, it is the 25th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, known as the MCU. The film was directed by Destin Daniel Cretton from the screenplay he wrote with Dave Callaham and Andrew Lanham, and stars Simu Liu as Shang-Chi alongside Awkwafina, Meng'er Zhang, Fala Chen, Benedict Wong, Yeoh, Kingsley, and Tony Leung. In the film, Shang-Chi is forced to confront his past when his father, Wenwu, played by Liang, the leader of the Ten Rings organization, draws Shang-Chi and his sister Xialing, played by Zhang, into a search for a mythical village. A film based on Shang-Chi entered development in 2001, but work did not begin in earnest until December 2018, when Callaham was hired. Cretton joined in March 2019, with the project fast-tracked as Marvel's first film with an Asian lead. The film's title and primary cast were announced that July, revealing the film's connection to the Ten Rings organization, which previously appeared throughout the MCU, and its leader, Wenwu. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is the first Marvel Studios film with an Asian director and predominantly Asian cast. Filming began in Sydney in February 2020 and was put on hold in March due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Production resumed again in August before completing in October of that year, with additional reshooting occurring in San Francisco. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings premiered in Los Angeles on August 16, 2021, and was released in the United States on September 3rd as part of Phase 4 of the MCU. It grossed over $432 million worldwide, making it the 9th highest-grossing film of 2021. It set several box office records and received positive reviews from critics, many of whom praised the choreography of the action sequences, exploration and representation of Asian culture, direction, and the performances from the cast, particularly those of Liu and Liang. The film received numerous awards and nominations, including a nomination for Best Visual Effects at the 94th Academy Awards. A sequel is in development, with Cretton set to return as director and writer. The cast includes Simu Liu as Zhong Shangqing, or Sean, a skilled martial artist who was trained at a young age to be an assassin by his father Wenwu. Shang-Chi left the Ten Rings organization for a normal life in San Francisco and changes his name to Sean. Director Destin Daniel Cretton characterized Shang-Chi as the fish out of water in the US, who attempts to hide this with his charisma and does not know who he really is. Cretton also compared Shang-Chi to Matt Damon's character Will Hunting from Good Will Hunting in 1997, with both characters combining masculinity and vulnerability and having secrets and superpowers that they do not quite understand. Awkwafina as Katie, a hotel valet and Shang-Chi's best friend in San Francisco who's unaware of his past. Awkwafina described Katie as relatable, with a real heart and dedication to Shang-Chi, who's thrust into a world where she doesn't really know what to do and is discovering things about herself. Meng'er Zhang as Zhu Zhangxing, Shang-Chi's estranged younger sister and Wenwu's daughter. Xialing is Zhang's first ever film role. Fala Chen as Ying Li, Wenwu's wife and mother of Shang-Chi and Xialing, who's the guardian of Tai Lo. Benedict Wong as Wong, the Sorcerer Supreme participating in a cage-fighting tournament with Emil Blonsky. Most famously portrayed, of course, in the Doctor Strange films. Yeoh as Ying Nan, a guardian of Tai Lo who's Shang-Chi and Xialing's aunt. Kingsley as Trevor Slattery, an actor who previously took on the guise of the Mandarin and was abducted by the Ten Rings, becoming a court gesture or the Shakespearean fool for Wenwu. Cretton felt it was essential to hear Slattery admit how ridiculous the whole Mandarin impersonation situation was, as seen in Iron Man 3 in 2013, and the Marvel one-shot film All Hail the King in 2014, feeling that having Slattery apologize for impersonating Wenwu was a perfect way to apologize for racial stereotypes surrounding the Mandarin. Kingsley enjoyed revisiting and developing the character, with Cretton saying Kingsley was able to portray a Trevor who's actually benefited from being a person who has come out clean and sober version of himself. And finally, Tony Leung as Zhu Wenwu, Shang-Chi and Xialing's father and the leader of the Ten Rings. Wenwu is an original character from the Marvel Cinematic Universe who replaces Shang-Chi's original comic book father, Fu Manchu, a problematic character associated with racist stereotypes to whom Marvel Studios did not hold any film rights. In the film, Wenwu has taken on many different names, including the Mandarin, which producers Jonathan Schwartz noted comes with the audience expectations due to the comic book history of the name. He said Wenwu was a much more complex and laid character than the comic book version, with Cretton adding that there was problematic aspects of the Mandarin comic book portrayal that he wanted to change. He felt Liu avoided Asian stereotypes and was one-dimensional portrayal by bringing humanity and love to the role, and described Wenwu as a fully realized human with relatable reasons for his bad decisions. Now, I really found myself enjoying this film. As you would expect from Marvel, it is well made, well produced, with fantastic visuals. In saying that, though, Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings isn't entirely free of Marvel's familiar and formulaic characteristics. But this exciting origin story expands the MCU in more ways than you would usually expect. What I will say is this is a flamboyant Asian-led visual effects extravaganza that gives the lesser-known hero in Shang-Chi the same respect that the big-timers get, like Iron Man and Thor. What this results in, though, is a broadening of the MCU spectrum of representation once again, offering audiences an Asian hero now, the kind of empowerment for which we last saw in Black Panther, which paved the way for black representation within the superhero universe, if you will. I almost feel like this was a fresh and fun spin on the same old superhero trope. I really enjoyed the mix of martial arts, the fantasy, along with the exploration of Chinese and Asian American culture. I almost found there was a soul in this movie, if you will, with a nice personal touch, which a lot of the MCU movies of late have just sort of lacked, as you almost feel they're just made to continue the overall arc, but fundamentally just to make big money. This one is different though. Here Marvel have taken a lesser-known character and really given him a fantastic story. This film for me avoids the typical Asian cliches and stereotypes of accents and bad drivers, if you will, by potentially calling out some of the racial errors from Marvel's past, most notably in Iron Man 3. Given what's on show here though, the future of Shang-Chi and the Asian representation in the MCU looks very bright. I enjoyed the cast, and Liu makes for a great hero, and of course him doing all the action sequences himself really just adds to the character. He does though lack a little bit of the charisma maybe of some of the other leading men, but I think he's sort of finding his way within film acting. In the same breath though, what he lacks Awkwafina makes up for in her fantastic role as Katie. She's perfectly cast in this role and just fills the gaps with her charm and funny moments. The rest of the cast are strong too, but this film really is about the visual extravaganza that Marvel just knows how to do so well. Easy to watch, with fantastic fight sequences and wonderful visual effects, this is a superhero movie with a lot of soul. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings gets an 8.5 out of 10.